council meeting to order. Also, all of those who request to speak, we ask that you turn your forms in at this particular time. At this particular time, Councilman Nicholson will lead us in prayer. Councilman Bowman will lead us in the pledge.
God, thank you for this day. Thank you for our great city. Thank you for everyone in city government, elected and otherwise, who works every day to serve the public and to move our community forward. Please help us always to remember the profound trust that citizens have placed in us, and help us to discharge our obligations to them and to the city of Shreveport well. Amen.
Amen. Please the pledge with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Taylor. Councilwoman Fuller. Councilman Nicholson.
Present.
Councilman Butcher. Councilman Jackson.
Present.
Councilman Green.
Here.
And Councilman Bowman.
Here.
Thank you. I got a message that Councilman Butcher would not be here today, and Councilwoman Fuller will not be here today nor tomorrow. Tomorrow I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference Monday, January the 10th, 2022, and the city council meeting Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Does any member of the council have any awards or recognition of distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes? Mr. Whitehorn, Mayor, did y'all have any awards or recognition today? A distinguished guest that would not exceed 15 minutes?
None today, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
All right, we'll move to reports. Property standards, Mr. Green. Any member of the council have any questions for Mr. Green?
No, just what we talked about, and I'll get by there today.
Okay.
For sure when I leave.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Clark, do you have a report today? I thought I saw Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon, Council. I've asked Mr. Rick John to come and speak with you today. We have legislation on your agenda that we are very much opposed to. We were not involved in the process of the introduction of the legislation. It has to do with our ability to do regional planning. But I think at this point it's important that we have a total different perspective of how House Bill 697, Act 294 have impacted the city of Shreveport and the Parish of Caddo. And I just asked him to come and he'll share with you from a legal vantage point that I would be incapable of doing exactly how we feel that this has impacted on our ability to continue to operate in both the city and the parish. If you would allow Mr.
Yes, sir.
John to come forward, please.
Yes, sir. You may come, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for your time. My name is Richard John. I am counsel for the Metropolitan Planning Commission. Keep this very brief, and honestly, this issue is getting into the weeds a lot on constitutional issues, and it's a lot deeper than what I'm explaining here. But just to kind of give you an overview of how we are viewing this. One important thing is that the MPC was created by a constitutional amendment to the Constitution of 1921, and as a constitutional grant of power to the city by the state, it authorized the city to deal with zoning and planning issues. As a pre-1974 Home Rule Charter, the city, with powers granted to it by the Louisiana Constitution, the legislature is prohibited from changing the power of the city by general law. That's part of the Home Rule Charter powers of the city of Shreveport. As a home rule charter, and because this grant of power was through the Constitution, the legislature can only force a change to this law through of zoning and planning through a constitutional amendment. Acts 2020-294 is just general law that's been passed by the legislature in an attempt to change the zoning and planning authority of the city of Shreveport. And this attempt through general legislation, our argument is that it's invalid because it's attempting to circumvent the home rule authority of the city of Shreveport. Another issue we just wanted to make sure y'all are aware of is that under this new Act 2020-294, that the Act itself says that there are no changes to the law as it existed when the Act was passed if the City Council takes no action in accordance with the new law. And so it says that it shall not be construed to displace, amend, supersede, or affect existing planning or zoning laws or statutes of the state of Louisiana or of the municipality. So part of our argument is that if the city council does nothing, then the MPC stays in place as it is. And then also, they also amended 140.32, which reads that existing zoning ordinances of the municipality shall continue in effect until repealed by ordinances enacted under the authority of this chapter. There's some argument out there that the city council has to do something because of Acts 2020 number 294, and we disagree with that. We think the act itself gives the city council the ability to say, hey, we're just not going to act upon this legislation. We think that because of the home rule status of the city, that the city doesn't have to act upon the legislation. And also, there are other avenues in the statutes other than that created by Acts 2020. So if the city council came in and said, hey, we need to, we do need to revamp this, we're going to redo it, it doesn't have to follow the dictates of Acts 2020. It could also have the option of the statutes under Title 33, Section 101 and following. And so there are other avenues available to the city. Number one, like I said, we don't think that this act is applicable and that it overrides the city's home rule charter power. Number two, we think the act itself gives the city council the ability not to act if it doesn't want to. And then number three, there are other alternatives that we feel at least need to be discussed by the city council as opposed to just jumping in and following Acts 294. The new act changes the power of the city council over zoning in several significant ways. And I think that that's something that the city council needs to be aware of and needs to look at prior to making any decisions on this matter, because it certainly changes who appoints certain people, it changes who can remove certain people, and changes the authority. I'll be happy to take any questions, or if anybody has anything in particular, I'll be happy to address it.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
Hey, doing fine.
I'll be glad to talk to him offline, not necessarily today, but we can set up something in the near future before the ordinance is actually to be voted on, because it's just supposed to be introduced tomorrow, not voted on.
Okay,
So
well, again, I was asked to come
I know.
to explain their view, so I don't know the particulars of all that.
Yeah,
but
so if you could call my office or send me an email, I'll
Will
be
do.
glad to sit and talk with you.
No problem.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Ms. John, how you doing?
Just fine.
I guess I just want to, so my goal, my desire would be for the Metropolitan Planning Commission to continue doing what it has been doing for the city of Shreveport, and for things to operate as they have, because I think under Mr. Clark's leadership, the commission has been a very effective body. How does Ordinance 9 prevent that from happening? In other words, what does Ordinance 9 do to the status quo within the limits of the city of Shreveport?
And the copy I was given didn't have a number on it, but I'm assuming it's the ordinance that y'all are talking about. That 9 is the one you're talking about now?
Yes, that's our local legislation.
Well, I think that what it does is it enacts the Acts 2020 294, which is now what the revised statutes have been amended to be. I think it enacts those in that way, which, like I was saying, that's 33-140 at SEEK. There are other alternatives. Number one, I think that our reading is that if the city council does nothing, that the law just stays as it is. But then also, if city council said, oh, I want to review this, then I think they need to look also at 33-101, which also is a set of statutes which allows a process for the city to set up zoning and planning. That's different from what was set up under Acts 2020-294.
Well, I'll make it consistent with what Mr. Letier just said. I need additional education on this before we vote in 2 weeks, and there's time for that. But I just want to reiterate how much I appreciate the MPC's work and Mr. Clark's leadership of that organization. I do think that they benefit the entire city. Thank you.
Councilman, you had a question?
Yes, sir. And I don't know if that's part of what Councilman Nooker was asking, but when you said other alternatives you thought that we should look at, can you give us a list of those also, or what you're thinking that those other alternatives are?
Well, yes, sir. It's the statutes under revised statute 33:101 and following. That's a whole section. I think the other alternative is for the city council to do nothing and the laws in effect stay in effect, and then you have acts, the system set up or the scheme set up by the legislature in these Acts 2020 of 294. So I think that's three different alternatives right there that the city has. And then there's also some basis that the city can kind of go off and do make changes that it wants to make because of its home rule charter status. So there's certainly several options out there. Again, from the MPC standpoint, from the way it operates, and it feels like it's been doing a consistent and a good job, the MPC would push that, hey, the city council just not do anything and we keep proceeding under the existing laws that the city council, that the MPC's been existing under.
Okay, that's the confusion I had. When you said nothing, do nothing at all, and that meant just leave it as is. I thought you meant under the new, what they're proposing, just do nothing about it. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What about the issue of MPC members not living within the city? I mean, that's something we need to change, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that would be up to the city council, but under the existing laws prior to the revision, the MPC members just had to be members of the parish. They didn't have to be outside the city limits, but they just needed to be members of the parish. So if the city wanted to come in, now that the Caddo Parish is pulling out of the MPC, which again is a whole nother issue, but now that they're pulling out, then the city would become the appointing authority. And I mean, I think that you could tweak that as you wanted to.
But MPC doesn't have any objection to that.
No, I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank
else?
you, sir.
And if you have any questions, we've been researching this for 2 years now, and I'll be happy to provide, and I'll get with you, Mr. Letier, and be happy to provide our stance on it, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any, did everyone receive their financial report? If there is a report?
It'll be received tomorrow, Councilman.
All right, thank you. Public hearing, I see there's none. Mr. Whitehorn, would there be any legislation added to the agenda tomorrow?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. Today we will have public comments on non-agenda items and agenda items. And we ask that you would limit your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Vice Chair, who do we have?
First I have Liz Swain. And she wants to speak about downtown happening.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. It's great being here. Liz Swain, 416 Cotton Street. Actually, the whole reason I wanted to be here today was to make this meeting 3 minutes longer than the last work session, which was the shortest work session on record. But Mr. John's already beat me to it. So actually, what I wanted to tell you today is something that's not on the agenda, but it's really good news for downtown, and you should have one of these given to you by Jackie. This is our new Downtown Eats. We've got 2 additional downtown restaurants that are opening, or eating places. One is pizza. It's called Poppin' Pizza. Brittany Shabazz, who grew up in Cedar Grove, and she and her husband Trill are the proud new owners of the Downtown Pizzeria right up here on the corner at 500 Texas Street. One of the things that I have been asked about for years downtown is when are we going to have a pizza joint? So I'm happy to be able to tell people that we have it. It is some of, if not the best pizza in town. I would encourage all of you to go out and try a slice of her great pizza. She opened up Saturday at noon. She's going to be open almost every day except for Sunday. And then right across the street, the place that used to be the old Hallmark House in the Slattery building is going to be opening soon as a smoothie place called Cookie Bees Smoothies and More. This young woman is actually from New Orleans, and she's been living in Shreveport for a while, decided to put down her roots here, open her very first brick and mortar business in honor of her mother, whose name was Cookie Bee. So we are thrilled to have both of them in downtown Shreveport. These are all the places downtown that you can eat, drink, have a wonderful time. We would encourage you to let everybody know to come downtown, and if you got a little craving or a little spot in your tummy that needs to be filled up, come on down and see us. There are a tremendous number of things going on in downtown right now. Everything from buildings changing hands, buildings being renovated, building conversions, money being invested, money on the sidelines waiting to come into downtown. So perhaps one day on a Monday, I can take a few minutes longer, do a quick PowerPoint, show you some pretty pictures, answer any questions you have. A tremendous number of opportunities in downtown right now. Thank you for all of your continuing support for everything that we do. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. John Settle. Liz, you say that the popping pizza is opening when? Tomorrow?
They are open now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greetings, John Settle, 4 Tealwood, that's in District B. I wanted to address you on three things, but first of all, the pizza place is great. I ate there today. Secondly, Focus SB, we run a great deal of coverage on what's happening downtown. Liz is very kind in sending us information. We had a big article this week. Thirdly, one issue that wasn't addressed by Mr. Johns on the MPC is one, there is litigation filed by yours truly, naming the MPC in the city. And more importantly, you have on your agenda today a confirmation for someone who is filling a parish seat. This is a parish appointee. His term has expired, and he is being nominated to fill a parish seat. I do not know how legally the city council can confirm a nomination of a designated parish seat. Now, why I was here though, and I think it's a serious issue, which is being ignored in the litigation. Of course, I will get an answer hopefully soon from the MPC in the city. I came here really on more pleasant news, just to advise you of the campaign that Focus SB has to generate more businesses to sign up for the camera registration. I gave you a list of some businesses. I hope there's some in your district, and I hope you'll promote this to other businesses in your district. My newspaper put up $1,000. We had an anonymous contribution of $1,000. Judge Craig Marcotte gave $100. So this campaign has been to promote people to register their cameras. So far, we've given out $1,800. There's $300 left. So encourage your constituents to consider their business camera registrations with the Real-Time Crime Center. And you can go to the city's website. They have a Real-Time Crime Center that explains it. I have on here Kevin Smith, the director of that, his email, as well as Keith Hansen. And I'll just run through this list quickly. I know you get so many things to read. Here's a partial list. Beard Tower, Little Realty, Gene Mims Builder, Mosquito Mist, Sound Minds, Porter's Cleaners, Uri Drive, Music Mountain Water, ELA Group, that's Ed Angel, Tech Medics, Rutherford House, Marlene U Museum, Figlio Tree Service, and 5 apartment complexes. So please consider promoting that to your people. This was a follow-up to our campaign to encourage COVID vaccinations that started last year. You may remember we gave out $1,000 there in that campaign. Don't be a snot, get the shot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That concludes.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments. We do have appointments to be considered on tomorrow. There are no items on the consent agenda legislation to be adopted. Mr. Whitehorn, would you proceed with regular agenda items?
Resolutions on second reading and final passage. Resolution number 132, authorizing the mayor to execute an option to ground lease between the city of Shreveport and Shreveport HP Allendale LLC. Resolution 165, approving a restoration tax abatement renewal application for Venue Solutions LLC, 601 Milam Street. Resolution 2, authorizing the employment of special counsel to represent the city of Shreveport. Resolution 3, authorizing the mayor to execute a cooperative purchasing agreement between the city of Shreveport and Baton Rouge Fire Department. Resolution 5, honoring James Fleury for nearly 20 years of dedicated service as a public servant.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Whitehorn, would you proceed with the introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to February the 8th, 2022?
Resolution 6, amending the pay scale for municipal police, civil service personnel, and municipal fire civil service personnel. Resolution 7, accepting the public dedication of the west side of Chestnut Park Lane and Providence Place intersection right-of-ways in Providence subdivision. Resolution 8, accepting the public dedication of Pecan Square Avenue, Fairwoods Drive, and Woodbury Avenue, rights-of-way and 30-foot wide drainage servitude in Providence subdivision, Phase 4, Unit A. Resolution 9, authorizing a request to be made to the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, Louisiana State's Mineral and Energy Board, to seek public bids for oil and gas and mineral lease involving the property located in District F and G and described herein, and to execute the lease for certain mineral interests owned by the city of Shreveport. Resolution 10, authorizing the Shreveport Airport Authority to discard as surplus property passenger boarding bridges, IFB number 22-066. Resolution 11, to amend Resolution number 139 of 2021, which was adopted to execute an agreement between the city of Shreveport and Carr Riggs and Ingram LLC for the purpose of an external audit of the city for fiscal year January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Resolution 12, a resolution whereby the mayor is making a recommendation to the city council for its approval regarding the amount and type of various insurance premiums, and authorize the mayor to execute a payment of the agent of record for the purpose of binding insurance and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Any questions? Ms. Whitehorn, would you proceed with the introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to February 8, 2022?
Ordinance number 1, amending the 2022 budget for general fund. Ordinance 2, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Ordinance 3, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Ordinance 4, amending the 2022 downtown parking enterprise fund budget. Ordinance 5, amending the city of Shreveport, Louisiana 2022 street special revenue fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance number 6, amending the city of Shreveport, Louisiana 2022 capital projects fund budget. Ordinance number 7, amending the 2022 community development special revenue fund budget. Ordinance number 8, declaring the city's interest in declaring certain land surplus and our intentions to donate certain land to Volunteers of America of North Louisiana. Ordinance number 9, amending and repeal sections in Chapter 7, Planning and Development of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission of Caddo Parish. Ordinance number 10, to amend various articles and sections in the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Unified Development Code related to fence requirements and restrictions. Ordinance number 11, zoning case number 21-184-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located inter-west of Linwood Avenue and approximately 83 feet south of West 83rd Street, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from R-1-7 Single Family Residential District to C-2 Corridor Commercial District. Ordinance number 12, zoning case number 21-199-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the south side of Burt Coons Industrial Loop Expressway, approximately 520 feet east of Linwood Avenue, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from C-3 General Commercial District to C-4 Heavy Commercial District.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. Mr. Whitehorn, would you proceed with the ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Ordinance number 72, to amend certain portions of Chapter 6 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to the architectural and engineering selection process and otherwise providing with respect thereto. Ordinance number 191, declaring the city's interest in certain land as surplus and our intentions to donate certain land acquired by the Department of Community Development to Volunteers of America of North Louisiana. Ordinance 195, to amend Chapter 58, Article 4, Division 1, and Chapter 78, Article 8, Division 1 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to litter and dumping. Ordinance 204, zoning case number 21-158-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the southeast corner of LaGuardia Street and Hawkins Street, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from R-1-5 Single Family Residential District to R-A Rural Agricultural District. Ordinance number 227, zoning case number 21-185-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the northeast corner of David Rains Road and Willis Street, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from R-1-5 Single Family Residential District to C-1 Neighborhood Commercial District.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there any legislation to be removed from the table?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. We have no appeals, ABO card appeals. We have no MPC or ZBA appeals to consider tomorrow. Are there any other appeals, Madam Clerk?
There are none.
Thank you. Are there any reports from officers, boards, or committees? Madam Clerk, is there a clerk's report?
Yes, we did receive an appointment letter for Milton Geltz to the Shreveport Airport Authority.
Okay. What's his last name?
Geltz, G-E-L-T-Z.
We have no executive session, and if there's nothing else to come before this body, meeting adjourned.